9440. 4405. 9440 405
All right, welcome back, crime fighters, for another edition of Calhoun County's Most Wanted, the program where you get to help make Calhoun County a better and safer place by helping us lock up some bad guys. I'm your host, Chris Wright, along with Chief Deputy Lindy Meter from the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
All right, have a good 4th?
I did. I had a great 4th.
I had a busy one. I've been doing all kinds of home renovation work and all that.
Oh, wow.
Busy, busy, busy. I'm tired, but we did take a little bit of time to do some grilling, and our church had a nice little fireworks show actually on the 5th, and some of the folks in the neighborhood are still continuing the fireworks.
That is a problem with the continuation and stuff, and we did have a few calls and complaints, especially once it got late at night and people still continuing the fireworks, but nothing out of hand.
I knew that when they were canceling the big fireworks shows at Oxford Lake and some of the other places, and I knew this was going to be a big year for people just buying their own and doing them in the neighborhoods. We had at least 3 or 4 times as many fireworks in our neighborhood this year as I've ever seen before.
Really?
It was like a war zone.
I could imagine, which we did a small little family vacation, and so away from the beach and kind of got away, and so where we were at, there was a city ordinance where they didn't have the fireworks show going, so we didn't get to see any fireworks, but it was a nice, quiet family getaway that away from crowds.
But so as far as you know, around Calhoun County, even though we had more people shooting them off, it's still relatively uneventful?
Right, we didn't really have any major problems. Like I said, we had a few calls, especially once it got late at night with the continuation of doing the personal fireworks, but nothing that got out of hand.
All right, so glad that worked out okay. Let's take a look at what you guys have done for us the last week here. We got another arrest.
All right, brings our count up to 4,588.
So we've never gone a week without at least one arrest, thanks to our viewers. We've been doing this show for, I guess, 17 years now, is it?
Right, it's been a while, and just because they're put on there, they may not be the 10 most dangerous criminals, but they are people with outstanding warrants with our agency, and every tip and every information helps put one person in jail.
Yep. So we do appreciate your help with that, and we will have the first half of this week's lineup coming up right after this break on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.
Here at the FTC, when it comes to advertising hype, we've heard it all. And some of it can be, a little, over the top. We've sued many of them and gotten money back for cheated customers. Let's take a peek in the old archives, shall we? Ah, yes. How about the fantastic footwear that kicks your butt into shape? Burn more calories. These shoes do all the work. Sink your claws into this one. Lotion with lobster hormones, so you can shrink a size without going on a diet. Wow. Or why not let your skivvies do all the work? Lose inches and pounds. Just wear our caffeine-infused underwear. Really? Sure, when you say it like that, you can spot them stretching the truth a mile away. But a lot of time, even misleading ads can sound pretty plausible. Sorting out the facts from a fib can be a little, hit or myth. Here are a few tips to help you tell the truth from a tall tale. Take a pass on any product that promises weight loss or fitness results with no effort. No garment, gizmo, or cream will get you slim and toned. Getting fit takes time and work. Forget the photos. They could be altered. Plus, before and after snaps may show a satisfied customer, but that doesn't mean you'll have the same experience. In reality, that sculpted physique could be the result of rigorous diet and exercise, not the product. The best path to losing weight is regular exercise and healthful eating. Learn more at ftc.gov/health.
All right, let's get started with this week's lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. See if you can help us find somebody that we have an outstanding warrant for. Jeffrey Pope of Delta is wanted on a probation revocation for theft of property 4th degree and domestic violence 3rd degree. Uriel Lancaster of Anniston is wanted for possession of a controlled substance and use and possession of drug paraphernalia. Timothy McFall of Anniston wanted on bond revocation for possession of a controlled substance and use and possession of drug paraphernalia. Dietrich Parker of Roanoke is wanted on a probation violation for burglary third. Christopher Morton of Altoona wanted for third-degree assault, harassment. And Autumn Rollins of Anniston wanted on a failure to appear warrant for resisting arrest. We're not done. We've still got another half of the lineup to go. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But if you've got information about anybody that we just showed, please call the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office at 256-236-6600. All right, welcome back. We will have the second half of the lineup in just a few minutes. But right now, let's talk about the election runoff. That's coming up next week. This will be for the Republican primary runoff. You've got Tuberville and Sessions.
Right, and so it's just the Republican runoff election. So you've got two, just in Calhoun County, you've got two. You've got the Senate runoff, and then you've got the Court of Appeals Circuit Court judge, I believe that's what it is.
All right. So what are those, with this being a runoff of a primary, it's not open for everybody to vote at this point, right? We do have some restrictions on that.
There are some restrictions. So because it is Republican runoff, if you voted Democrat in the primary, then you're not eligible to vote Tuesday. But now if you were voted Republican or you didn't vote in the primary, then you are eligible to vote.
Yeah, so if you just didn't make it out during the regular primary, that doesn't mean you have to sit this one out. You can still get involved. It's just if you actually voted in the Democratic primary, so we don't get that crossover voting with people trying to mess up the other party kind of thing.
Right, and that's it. And like I said, it's next Tuesday, which is July the 14th. Polls open at 7, and it's from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and so go vote. All
right, so here we are in the time of COVID, and the case numbers continuing to rise in Alabama, and we're asking people to go to polling places where sometimes it can get a little bit crowded. Generally, though, when we have a runoff election, crowds aren't that bad, are they? They're
not, and just because of the times that we are living in right now, we are doing, some precautionary measures. Judge Martin, I hated that she was not going to be here today. She was going to be our guest speaker, so I'm kind of not filling her shoes because that's impossible to do, but kind of getting the information out that she wants us to get out to the public. But just some additional safety measures to make people feel comfortable coming to vote. That way it doesn't discourage you to go vote. You may see a little bit difference in changes as far as maintain the social distancing just like you are anywhere else. There's going to be hand sanitizer at all the polling precincts. The poll workers will have at their tables, they'll have some protection barriers to be behind to give a little bit of social distancing for their protection and, for the voters' protection as well.
What about the PPE, the personal protection equipment there? If I show up to vote without a mask, am I going to be allowed to come in and vote?
There's no law or city ordinance against not wearing a mask. Just like everywhere else, people encourage you to wear a mask. But if you come without wearing a mask, you will not be told that you cannot vote. Anybody can, you can come vote. If you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, that is your right. Wear a mask. If you want to wear gloves, wear gloves. Like I said, hand sanitizer will be available, but it's how you feel comfortable. Just like if you're going anywhere else out in the public, your comfort level as far as feeling safe. So the main message is to come vote. And that way we're trying to set it up, distancing, 6 feet distancing, have it spaced out. And I know a lot of times, that polling precincts may be a gathering site for people that you haven't seen in a while, and especially right now where everybody's been at home and not seeing your neighbors and family and friends, and you may see them out and want to gather and socialize, but we ask, to maintain the 6 feet social distancing still.
And some people may look at this and say, well, it's just a runoff. There's not a lot of stuff on the ballot. Just going to maybe sit this one out. And you can do that if you want to, but for Senate, that's a pretty important position.
Yes, it is.
Not that other positions that we vote for are not important, but a United States Senator has a lot of influence on what happens. So this is a very important runoff election.
Right, it is. And there's other options too. If you feel uncomfortable actually going to the polling precincts, there's another option. You can vote absentee.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the sheriff's office, you've got an important role with this and all the other elections.
Oh yes, we will have, we'll be working, we've got deputies assigned to polling precincts in Calhoun County alone. There's 44 polling precincts, so we have deputies that are assigned to one to multiple precincts just throughout the day. Not that we believe that there's going to be any problems, but in case there is any kind of issues, not just with people violating laws, but also too with any kind of equipment issues or machine issues. Judge goes around, the sheriff goes around with the probate judge and to all the polling precincts and make sure everything's running and operating smoothly.
All right. So again, that's going to be coming up on Tuesday. So the Republican primary runoff. So we encourage everyone that is eligible to go and vote. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We will be back with the second half of this week's lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. Okay, here we go with the second half of this week's lineup on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. Bradley Hammett of Piedmont wanted on a probation violation for possession of a controlled substance. William Morrow of Hoover wanted on a failure to appear warrant for possession of marijuana first degree and use and possession of drug paraphernalia. Bradley Newell of Piedmont wanted on a failure to appear warrant for tampering with physical evidence and attempting to elude. Dennis Dewberry of Odenville wanted on a probation violation for possession of a controlled substance. Bodie Brantley of Foley is wanted on a failure to appear warrant for theft of property, 4th degree. And Marissa Mobbs of Center is wanted on a failure to appear warrant for possession of a controlled substance and use and possession of drug paraphernalia. You can help us find any of these individuals. Please call Calhoun County Sheriff's Office at 256-236-6600. All right, we'll talk about some property crimes coming up in just a few minutes, see if you can help us solve any of those. We were talking a few minutes ago about the upcoming primary runoff election. Real quick before we move off of that, if people do want to vote absentee, they've still got just a little bit of time if they're watching this show, at least on the first run, because the show does get repeated throughout the week some.
Yes.
But as of Tuesday, we've still got a little time if you want to do absentee.
If you want to do absentee, you've got until this Thursday, July the 9th, to go and register with to vote absentee. And that's at the absentee office at the admin building, which is 1702 Noble Street. So you've got a little bit of time to go get that done if you feel uncomfortable going to the polling precincts. So you'll be able to do that by going to register.
All right. Last week, the sheriff let us know that there were a couple of individuals in the sheriff's office that had tested positive for COVID-19. We had a good long run there before it got into the sheriff's office.
Right.
We had a couple positive tests as of last Tuesday. First off, how are they doing? Are they okay?
Yes, they're doing great. And like with anything else, this is a virus, and so we were fortunate, and we just increased cleaning and sanitizing everything as much as possible. And unfortunately, we did have a couple of deputies that did test positive, and we've done multiple testing since then, just to make sure anybody with any symptoms have been testing or are possibly exposed to those deputies getting tested. And so far, nobody else has tested positive. We've all got negative results. And as far as how they're doing, basically, they're doing really great. They had just flu-like symptoms, and so they didn't have to go to the hospital or anything like that. So they great health condition, and so they.
I hope that continues. I've seen some cases where people didn't have a whole lot of symptoms, but still 2 months down the road, they're still experiencing some difficulties and stuff. Hopefully, they'll be 100% back to full speed here very soon.
Right, and it plays a mindset game with you too. Even though you don't have any symptoms, then once you go get tested, it changes your outlook as well. So you sympathize with everybody that's waiting on test results.
So you went through the test, didn't you?
I went through the test results.
What was that like?
Well, I didn't go through the nasal one.
Okay.
We had several that did, and very uncomfortable. I would
That's
say
not
very
like they do. It's
uncomfortable.
a typical. A lot of people have had little swabs taken in their noses for different things over the years, and it's very simple and not a problem. But with this one, it's kind of invasive.
Yes, and I'm a chicken when it comes to that, and I was panicked, and I didn't have to take that one, and I'm very thankful of that. But it was quickly done, but yeah, it just looks very uncomfortable, and when you had grown men saying that it was.
Yeah. So what you were talking about the mindset. What was your mindset as that was happening?
Well, of course, you start panicking. Oh, do I have it? Do I feel sick? Is my throat sore? So you started having those symptoms, even though that you really didn't. So, and then it depends on when you get your test results back. On sitting there being quarantined, going through, what if I've got it? So I think
You
every
start
employee.
thinking about all the loved ones that you've been in contact with that could have possibly been infected by you, and how you could have affected other people. I'm sure that's part of the mind game that goes on there too.
Oh yes, it's very scary, and it was scary for everybody. So I can imagine everybody that has been tested, they've went through the same symptoms. You know, sitting there wondering back on a test result that can be anywhere from a couple of days to some's been about 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, we have seen, I mentioned earlier that the positive test numbers continue to rise. I want to make sure that we're also presenting the positive news, and that is the death rates at this point have been making some progress downward. So that's definitely a good thing.
Right.
We hope that continues as hospitalization rates start going back up. That certainly we're concerned about what may happen after the 4th of July. We had a big spike right after Memorial Day. Will the 4th of July be a repeat of that, but with possibly even larger numbers? We'll be watching to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and with people, like you said, going on vacation, and I think there was a lot of people going to the beach, and so of course you have more exposure that way on the large gatherings, and so just be mindful and cautious of what you're doing.
Yeah, if you haven't seen some pictures of people that are on the ventilators, take a look. It's not hard to find pictures of people that are on the ventilators, and it's not something you want.
No, not at all.
All right, we will take a quick break. We'll be back with a couple of property crimes that hopefully you can help us with, and our crazy criminal of the week on Calhoun County's Most Wanted. All right, let's see if you can help us out with some property crimes committed recently here in Calhoun County. During the early morning hours of July 6th, someone broke into a car at a residence on Alexandria Wellington Road. A Coach purse with personal contents and a Ruger 380 handgun were stolen. Looking back at some past crimes from not too long ago, between June 13th and 14th, 13 reports were filed for breaking and entering automobiles in the Alexandria community. A large amount of currency, a host of sunglasses, 2 firearms, a wallet, and miscellaneous items were stolen. A total of 18 cars were illegally entered on those dates. All of them were unlocked. If you have any information about these crimes or any other crimes committed in Calhoun County, please call the Calhoun County Sheriff's Office at 256-236-6600.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
All right, so, Lindy, I know that you're fully capable of handling a flat tire yourself.
I have.
You have before. You're a lady that can handle a lot of things. But still, if you're over on the side of the road, you've just discovered you've got a flat tire and somebody stops to assist you with that, you'd appreciate that, right?
Oh yes, definitely.
What if you suddenly remember that a year ago I had a flat tire and somebody just like this person stopped and assisted me back then too?
Okay.
Very much like, as a matter of fact, the same person. There's a guy in Japan that the lady had a flat tire right after she left a parking lot. Guy pulls over to assist her, and she remembers that the same thing had happened a year ago. They were able to trace back and see that this guy had slashed her tire
Oh wow.
so that he could meet her. He could pull up, be the knight in shining armor, save her from this situation. That's pretty scary. What's really scary is he's been doing this for a decade to, his lawyer says, probably over 1,000 women.
Wow. Well, did he ever get a date?
No. I don't know if that's a sad thing or a good thing. I guess it's a good thing that he didn't. But
it goes back to always know your surroundings as well. You know, be cautious.
Wow. That is not the right way to meet women. If the only way you can meet women is by slashing their tires, you don't need to meet women. Okay? Just be lonely. All right, that's all the time that we've got for this week. We'll be looking for you again next week, but hopefully not in the lineup or out slashing women's tires on Calhoun County's Most Wanted.